I am your host, Rodimus Prime. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, and I missed you guys yesterday. I apologize. I needed a day to recharge, rejuvenate, basically feel better about myself. I've been dealing with some stuff, so I appreciate you guys. What I have done for you guys today is we are going to look at the potential matchups coming up this Friday. It starts. We are going into the Major 4 qualifiers, week 1. This is also another set of bounty matches. There will be 6 matches throughout these qualifiers where bounties will be put up. $10,000 will be on the line. 2 teams will play for said $10,000. Only one will take away that prize money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze the first week of matchups. We have 10 of them through 3 days starting this Friday, June 24th. I'm going to give my analysis, my thoughts, my predictions, and we're going to see who's going to be sitting pretty after this first week of qualifiers. But all right, guys, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it as I make my predictions for the first week of Major 4 qualifiers. So let's get straight into this, guys. This is the week 1 qualifiers for Major 4. Our first matchup of Friday starts at noon, and it's kind of an interesting one. We've got the Florida Mutineers versus the New York Subminers. The headlines going into this matchup: Florida has done some roster changes. Nothing's been made official yet. Yesterday, when Donnie Temp was playing, he showed his S&D stats when he had played Florida and may have potentially revealed their roster. From what we saw, it looked like it was Awakening, Skies, Dave Patty, and Major Maniac, which, if that's the case, that's 4 ARs. What is Florida doing with 4 ARs? How is that going to help you win games, let alone get into a championship? You need a sub. Like, Major Maniac's a great player, but 4 ARs? What are you guys doing? That being said, if this is their roster going in, because they've got to figure this out before Friday. Friday, qualifiers start at noon. They don't got much time. You got 2-3 days to get this roster locked up. If that's their roster, they're gonna get scraped. That's not gonna be close. New York has to win these matchups coming into this. When they're playing Florida, they've got 70 points. They have to win every matchup, so that they're going to be coming in hungry. I suspect New York's been doing a lot of practice. Hopefully, there's been a lot of talk actually on the side about Crim 6 being that teammate that nobody wants to team with. The guy wins though. That's the biggest thing, is people don't like to mention his bad attitude, but he's got a lot of championships. Not everyone that wins a lot of championships is going to be the best person to be around. But minus the side stories, minus the roster changes, I'm going to give this one to New York. I think they're going to take it. I think they're going to win the first 10K of this week. They're going to get these points, these much needed points for them to go into the championship. And I think they're going to take this 3-1. And that gives New York their first win of the qualifiers. Next up, we have Optic, Texas playing Boston Breach. They are playing at 1:30. That's if the Florida and New York match doesn't go the 5 games, but basically they're set up to play about an hour and a half after that first matchup. And this one's kind of interesting too. A couple storylines coming into this. Illy is finally returning to Optic. With that being said, they're back to their full strength roster. And this team was nasty. They won the first major. They were a very good team. So it dictates that they should probably take this. Now, Boston has also made some change-ups after their most recent performances at LANs. They decided to go ahead and bench Capsidal, and I think they're bringing in Vivid. And if they bring in Vivid, Vivid's nasty. There was a tweet posted about the best accuracy in the game, and he was second in accuracy. The only reason he was second is because Pristini was at number 1. That's because Pristini played one series in qualifiers, and he had the highest percentage because of that one series. But Vivid was second on there, and Vivid has been in the league pretty much all year. So if Boston brings in Vivid, that might be a spark for them. That being said, though, it's still working with a new team and a new team dynamic. And Optic, they've been together. They haven't made any real changes. Illy has even been stated as their leader on this team. So that being said, I think Optic gets back to feeling comfortable. I think with Illy being out, there was a comfort level that they had when he was there that they didn't have because of his hand injury, the substitutes constantly. So I think Optic gets back to their fluid form. I think Shotzi gets back to his dominant ways. Dashy doing what he does is one of the best ARs in the game. That being said, I'm going to give this to Optic. I think they're going to take this one 3-1. Illy's going to get that first qualifier win back on the team, and I think they're going to look like the old Optic. And for our third and final matchup of Friday, at 3 o'clock, we have Toronto Ultra playing the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Once again, this time off has really been crazy for the CDL in terms of team switches and storylines. Toronto's coming in looking very dominant after Major 3. That team looks like the team that played in Cold War. They're very disgusting. Kleenex, the tissue is an issue. He's back to playing the way he was. He's scary again. And they're playing Los Angeles Guerrillas. And Los Angeles Guerrillas is a team who is trying 2 new members. They benched Gunless and they benched Asim. And they brought in Spart and they brought in Neptune. Now, that now makes this team Spart, Neptune, Hook, and Slasher. And this could be a good team, but they've already played with Spart and they had some success at Major 2, and people will still call it the Volk Major, you know, a fluke, greatest miracle run of all time, whatever the heck you want to say, but they still won Major 2. So Spart does have the ability to play well. And Neptune's got something to prove. For the past 2 months, his name has been just run to the ground as a bad teammate, as a teammate who couldn't handle criticism, as a teammate who couldn't hack it. So I think he's going to come in with something really to prove. So with that being said, I still think Toronto is Toronto, and they were a top 2 team in the game last year. So I got to give it up to Toronto to beat LAG, because as it is still a new roster. So with that being said, I take Toronto Ultra to beat LAG 3-1, with LAG maybe having glimpses of being a scary team. So that rounds up our set of Friday matchups. We then move on to Saturday, and we get right into it. We are looking at the noon matchup, the first matchup of the day. Toronto Ultra starts the day out. They play the London Royal Ravens. Once again, as I said in the previous, matchup, this is another tale of the tape, another tale of some storylines. So Ultra is still Ultra, and London is bringing back Gizmo for this lineup. Gizmo was on the original London lineup when they looked like a top 3 team in the beginning of the game. I hope he is in the right headspace. I know that he took some time for himself personally, but whether that was to get himself in order or deal with some family stuff, I don't know, but I hope he's in the right place mentally before he comes back to this team. If he does, this team could be a top 3 team again. London was a very strong, very good team for a long time there, and then just something happened, and I think it was Gizmo having to basically take time to deal with personal stuff. But if they come back and he just slots right in there and plays well, they're gonna be a scary team again. But that being said, you are still having to come back and readjust to this pro play style that you haven't been around for a while. So that being said, I think Ultra, because they've been a team for so long and they've been doing this for so long, they're just ready, they're prepped, they got their eye on the prize. We're going into Worlds pretty quick here. We're not too far away, so now is the time to be locked in. I think Ultra's a little bit more locked in this, and I think that they take it. I think this is our first close matchup of these qualifiers. I think Ultra takes it 3-2 in a very close matchup. So for our first real interesting matchup of this weekend, we have NYSL, New York Subminers, versus the Los Angeles Guerrillas. And this is an interesting matchup because Neptune is playing his old team. He gets to play Crim. And this could play out 2 ways. Play out the way I think it's going to play out. It could also play out the opposite way, where we see Neptune transform into Super Saiyan, where he just destroys NYSL, shooting bodies, humping the ground, just being a terror. Um, I don't see that happening. I think this goes back and forth. I think LAG plays well, and I think you see glimpses of a potential good team. But at the same time, I think NYSL has to win to get into the championship, and because of that, I think there's a little bit more desperation, a little bit more of that extra something that you need to win these kind of series. And I think NYSL takes it. I think they beat LAG 3-2, but it's a very close series. Next up at 3 o'clock on Saturday, it is the Mountain Dew marquee match. You've got Optic Texas versus Minnesota Rocker. This is another good matchup. Minnesota has proved that they're extremely good online, leave a little bit of something to be desired on land. Optic is coming in, like I said, with their full roster rejuvenated, Illy being back on the team. Minnesota is still going to be tough for them to beat. I think this one goes to 5 games, but I think that Optic ends up taking it. I think they take it 3-2. I think it comes down to a 6-4 search in favor of Optic, and I think they go up 2-0 in the first week of qualifiers. They get 2 wins going forward. Next up is your second bounty match of these Major 4 qualifiers, week 1. It's the last match of Saturday. It's at 4:30. Got LA Thieves versus Boston Breach. This one is interesting because both teams need points, and I think this is a good series because, as I said, these last few weeks of qualifiers really matter to get champs. Boston's going to have Vivid. LA Thieves is going forward with their normal roster that they've had the entire season, trying to stick it out, trying to win a chip with that roster, which I don't think is going to happen. I think Boston comes in fast. I think they start by going up 2-0 in this series. I think Thieves comes back to tie it up, and I think this one goes to a final search. And I think Vivid being that addition is what Boston needs. And I think Boston is going to be LA Thieves. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 3-2 Boston. And they're going to take that 10K and hopefully use that momentum to do well in qualifiers. After Saturday, we've got one final day of action. There's our final 3 qualifiers of this first week. And we start out the day, with Seattle Surge getting what is basically an easy free 3-0. It's Paris. 20 points in the CDL currently. Seattle just came off of a Major 3 win. They looked dominant. Pred and Sib looked absolutely phenomenal. Paris is in shambles, not going to make champs. The best they can hope for is to win out, and that's not going to happen, especially when your first matchup is against Seattle Surge. That being said, Seattle Surge takes this. It's not close. It's going to be a quick 3-0. We're going to be moving on to the next series pretty fast here. Next up, we've got Florida versus Minnesota. 4 ARs versus an actual team that's rounded out, works well together. This is another one of those situations where Florida doesn't really know what to do. I think that they're going to shoot straight. I think they're going to give Minnesota a heck of a series. But at the same time, you've got no subs. If the roster that we all saw that was leaked potentially by accident, by temp, is the roster that Florida is going forward with, they may not win another series the entire season of the CDL. You cannot win a championship with 4 ARs. It just does not work. And with that being said, because of that, Minnesota will exploit their weaknesses and take this series 3-1. And in general, it won't feel close. Like, Florida will steal one. They might steal an SND because of their AR and their long-range potential. But at the same time, they're going to look like they're in shambles and like they need another change. So with that being said, Minnesota takes this 3-1. And Florida looks like they really need to figure some things out. And for a final matchup of Sunday, the final matchup of the Week 1 qualifiers, we have LA Thieves playing Atlanta FaZe. It's the second Mountain Dew marquee match for the weekend, the final matchup of the weekend. This is interesting. You've got LAT versus ATL. And with that being said, I think FaZe is gonna really turn some heads. They've got one matchup in this first week, and this may be that statement that they need to let people know that, hey, don't play. I think FaZe is due for a major win. They've been in every grand final of every major, and they just haven't gotten over that hump. And I think that that frustration is going to build, and hopefully that turns into hard work and team dynamic, and to where all four of these guys go, you know what? We're the best team in this game. Let's go prove it. Because if they play together, they're unstoppable. FaZe has had dominance for years. I think they lost 3 series in like 2 to 3 years, some BS like that, and they've just been dominant. Go back and watch Simp and them and Abeezy in these previous CODs and just how like raw they were. So I think FaZe comes in with this being the final match of the weekend, and I think that they put people on notice. I think that this is a match where FaZe comes in and they 3-0 Thieves. Like, I'm talking a 250 to 120 hardpoint win, a 6-1 S&D, and a 3-0 control. Like, this is not going to be something Thieves is going to enjoy, and this may be the thing that breaks the Thieves. I could see FaZe just coming in and having a dominant win, and it just making Thieves look at each other and go, what are we doing? What are we doing, guys? So I think FaZe takes this. I think they take it 3-0. And I do not look forward to any team that has to play them, because I think FaZe is mad. I think they're angry, and I think they're ready to win a major. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I appreciate you sitting here listening to me rant about what's going to potentially be the outcomes of all these matchups. Thanks for watching. As always, the opinions stated in this video are my own, so you don't gotta agree with them, but I appreciate you sitting through the entirety of this video. Before you go, if you could do me one small favor, and I'm a little bit out of practice, if you could please like the video and subscribe, I would really appreciate that. And as always, I will see you all tomorrow.